Welcome. Tonight you'll drift far away from the noise of the modern world. The air around you will grow warmer, slower still. We're going back, thousands of years, to the land where time itself was measured by the river. The land of sand, sweat, and silence. Ancient Egypt. Imagine yourself lying beneath a wide, pale sky, as the sound of the wind brushing across endless dunes. In the distance, you hear the faint rhythm of wooden mallets striking stone, slow, steady, almost like a heartbeat, which strike echoes through time. These are not the sounds of kings or priests, but of ordinary men, the ones whose hands built eternity. Tonight, you'll walk among them. We'll rise with them before dawn, taste the dust they breathed, and feel the rhythm of their days. You will follow one man, a laborer named Hapu, whose name was once carved faintly into a wall, now long forgotten. You'll see how he lived, what he believed, what he hoped for. And at the end, you'll step quietly into the cool halls of the palace, the world he built but never entered. So close your eyes. Let the stillness of the desert surround you, and as the first light of the Egyptian sun begins to rise, you awaken. In another life, you wake before the sun. The desert air is still cold, clinging to your skin like a thin veil. The mat you've slept on is rough, woven from reeds pulled from the Nile's edge. You stretch your arms, slow and heavy, your muscles still aching from yesterday's labor. In the dim light, the camp is already stirring the faint coughs of men, the quiet shuffle of bare feet on sand. Smoke rises from small fires where bread is being baked. You tear off a piece of the coarse, flat loaf. It tastes of ash and salt. Nearby, someone laughs softly. Another groans at the thought of the long climb ahead. You all wear the same simple linen cloth, sweat-stained and pale with dust. The same calloused hands, the same tired eyes. A horn sounds in the distance, long, low, and unhurried. It means it's time to move. You begin the walk toward the worksite. It's not far, but the sand drags at your feet, and the weight of your tools feels heavier than usual today. The sky shifts from violet to gold, and already the heat begins to build, a slow fire that won't fade until nightfall. When you reach the base of the pyramid, the sight is almost beyond belief. Stone upon stone upon stone, a mountain made by hands like yours. You hear the orders of the overseer echoing sharply, his voice cutting through the hum of labor. He doesn't need to shout for long. Everyone knows the rhythm now. Lift, step, breathe. You take your place along the line. Group of men pulls thick ropes coated in animal fat, the stone inching upward along a ramp. You push from behind, your shoulder pressing into rough limestone, the heat of the rock burning through your skin. Sweat stings your eyes. You don't speak. No one does. Only the grunts of effort, the scrape of rope, the eternal sound of building something too vast to understand. Hours pass without a word. Only the sun moves. Your lips are dry, your breath shallow. Someone near you stumbles, and the overseer's reed whip snaps against the air. Not to wound, just to remind. The man rises. The line continues. Always the line continues. At midday, you rest in the narrow shade of the ramp's wall. A bowl of lentils, some onions, a sip of beer thick with grain, the meal of every day. You share it with a few others. Seated on the ground, your backs against the cool stone. Someone hums a tune, an old working song from the south. It drifts lazily between you, carried by the dry breeze. You close your eyes for a moment and feel your heartbeat slow. Then, the horn again. Work resumes. By sunset, your hands are raw, your body trembling from exhaustion. The stone stands one layer higher than it did this morning. You look up at it, and for a moment, you feel something like pride. It's faint, almost swallowed by fatigue, but it's there. When the day ends, you walk back toward the camp. The air cools quickly, and the sand beneath your feet feels soft again. In the distance, the Nile glows faintly under the fading light. Its surface turning from gold to deep blue. Wash the dust from your face, eat in silence, and lie down once more on the reed mat. Above you, the stars stretch endlessly, quiet and sharp. You think of home, of your wife, your children, your small field near the river. You wonder if they look up at these same stars. Your eyes close before you can finish the thought. And as sleep takes you, The faint hum of the workers' camp becomes the lullaby of eternity. The next morning arrives quietly, as it always does. The horizon glows pale gold, the air still cool before the day begins its climb toward heat. Among the hundreds of men stirring from their rest, one moves slower than the others. His name is Hapu. He is not young, not yet old. His back is bowed from years of labor, but his eyes still carry a patient light. He was born in a small village near the river's bend, where papyrus grows thick and green. He once fished beside his father, barefoot in the mud, before the king's men came looking for strong hands to help raise the monument of a god. That was 10 harvests ago. He's lived here ever since, a life measured by the rise of the sun and the weight of stone. Imagine yourself as Hapu. You wake with the others, rinse your hands in a clay bowl of water, and rub the dust from your hair. A wife waits far away. You haven't seen her in months. She sends small reed baskets of dried fish through the supply boats that travel the Nile, though most never reach you. Still, every evening you leave a tiny piece of bread at the edge of your sleeping mat, whispering her name before you eat. It's an old superstition, a way to feed the gods of distance, so they keep you connected. Hapu works not on the ramps, but at the chiseling wall where the massive blocks are smoothed and shaped before being moved upward. The rhythm is slow, steady, almost hypnotic. Tap, pause, brush the dust away, tap again. The scent of crushed limestone hangs heavy in the air, mixing with the faint sweetness of the resin used to coat the tools. Each sound is a small heartbeat in a greater pulse, the sound of a civilization in motion. Nearby, his friend Minka hums softly, a tune that once belonged to their childhood. The melody drifts through the dry air, comforting, repetitive. For a moment, Hapu forgets the ache in his arms. He thinks of the river, the cool water, the sound of birds hidden in the reeds, the softness of wet mud between his toes. He misses it deeply. He misses quiet days when work ended with sunset, not with exhaustion. The overseer passes by, his shadow cutting across the workers like a passing cloud. He nods approvingly. The wall is smooth, the rhythm unbroken. Hapu lowers his head in respect, but keeps working. He has learned not to speak unless spoken to. Words in this place are as costly as rest. When the sun reaches its peak, the men retreat again to shade. Hapu sits with Minka under the ramp's edge. They share bread, some beans, and watered beer. Minka speaks of home, of his son learning to swim in the Nile, of his wife's laughter. Hapu listens quietly, smiling but says little. In truth, he doesn't know if his own son remembers his face. But that thought drifts away as easily as the sand the wind moves across his feet. The afternoon stretches endlessly. The heat thickens, pressing on the skin, slowing every motion. Sometimes when he lifts his eyes toward the distant city, Hapu can see the shimmer of the pharaoh's palace, white walls gleaming faintly in the distance. It feels like another world entirely. He wonders what it's like inside. Does silence live there too, or is it filled with the same restless noise of living? By the time the sun begins its descent, Hapu's body trembles from the day's labor. But before returning to camp, he walks down to the edge of the Nile. There he kneels and washes his hands. Cool water feels alive against his skin, a soft reminder that something eternal moves quietly through this land. Even when men grow tired, he stays there for a while, watching the reflection of the fading sun ripple across the surface. In that reflection, the world looks gentler. The noise fades, the stone seems smaller, the air kinder. He whispers a short prayer to Hapi, the god of the river, asking only for strength, not for tomorrow, but for one more evening of rest. As the night falls, torches flicker in the workers' camp. Men laugh softly, share what little they have, and sing in low voices. Hapu lies back, the stars above shimmering faintly through the dust that never truly settles. He closes his eyes, and for a moment, he imagines the pyramid complete, shining white under the sun, its shadow falling across the river like a memory that will never fade. He knows he will never see it finished, but he smiles anyway. Somewhere inside, he feels that this small piece of eternity already belongs to him. The days continue their quiet rhythm: stone, dust, bread, and sleep. Yet all things in Egypt, no matter how ordinary, circle back to one sacred source, the river. The Nile. It is not simply water. It is breath, memory, and the patient pulse that keeps the kingdom alive. Without it, even the gods would go hungry. And so, every year, when the floods approach and the river begins to swell, the work slows. The sound of hammers and chisels fades. Instead, the men gather along the banks, and the air fills with murmured prayers. Imagine yourself standing there beside Hapu. The sand beneath your feet is damp and cool. The river glimmers softly under the early moonlight. You can smell it, earthy, rich, and sweet with silt. The scent of life returning to dry land.
Ouch.
Torches flicker along the shoreline. Men, women, and children from nearby villages arrive one by one, carrying offerings, baskets of grain, figs, clay jars filled with honey, and the first flowers of the season. They move slowly, reverently. No one rushes. The night itself seems to breathe in rhythm with them. An old priest begins to chant, his voice low and steady, like the hum of the river's current. He speaks the ancient words of Hapi, the god of the Nile, the one who floods and feeds, who takes and gives back. The crowd answers softly, repeating lines older than memory. You can barely understand the words, but you feel their weight, like water pressing against the heart. As the chant continues, a small boat drifts onto the river. It is simple, made of reeds and palm fiber. Its hull carrying a small carved statue, the image of the river god himself. Around it, oil lamps float gently, their flames trembling on the dark surface like sleeping stars. The boat moves with the current, slowly unhurried, as if the river is carrying its own reflection away to dream. Hapu stands among the others, his head bowed. In his hands, he holds a small loaf of bread, a piece he saved from his meal, hard and dry, but offered with care. He steps forward, kneels by the water, and lets it float away. He doesn't speak a word. He doesn't need to. The river understands. For a few long moments, the crowd is silent. Only the wind moves. It passes softly across the reeds, making them sway in waves, a sound like whispers or breathing. The water glows faintly from the torches, and every reflection seems alive, shifting, rippling, shimmering as if the past itself is stirring. You breathe in the air, warm and thick with incense from the small clay burners placed by the priests. Frankincense and myrrh mix with the scent of mud and smoke. It is a perfume only this land could know, sacred and raw, made from earth and heaven both. Then, slowly, the ceremony ends. The lamps drift further downriver, tiny moving points of gold disappearing into the darkness. People begin to leave, walking quietly, almost reluctant to break the stillness. The river returns to its normal voice, gentle, endless. Hapu lingers a little longer. He looks across the water, where the faint shape of the unfinished pyramid glows against the horizon. Its reflection stretches toward him like a shadow on the surface of the world. He imagines the river carrying his prayer all the way to the afterlife, the same path the soul must take when the heart grows still. When he finally turns back to camp, the sand feels cool beneath his feet. He walks slowly, calmly. The night sky above is vast and patient, and every star seems to hang just above the desert, close enough to touch. In Egypt, everything is a circle. The river floods, then retreats. Life rises, then rests. Stone crumbles, and new stone is laid. And every soul, no matter how small, is part of that slow, endless rhythm. As you breathe with the sound of the Nile, you begin to feel it too, the same stillness that Hapu felt, the same quiet surrender. It's a peace older than time, a peace made of water, dust, and memory. The river moves on, and the world it feeds moves with it. Beyond the fields and the workers' camps, beyond the echo of hammers and the songs of labor, stands another Egypt. The palace, white walls washed in sunlight, columns carved with lotus blossoms, floors so polished that they mirror the sky above. Here, everything moves more slowly. Even time seems to glide instead of pass. Imagine yourself entering this world not as a king or queen, but as a quiet observer, a shadow moving silently along the cool corridors. The air smells of oil and myrrh, faintly sweet and heavy. Servants pass by with bare feet carrying trays of figs and wine, their footsteps almost soundless. Somewhere in the distance, a harp plays, its notes rising and falling like gentle ripples on a still pond. The palace breathes differently. Its rhythm is not one of labor, but of waiting. It's waiting for the pharaoh to speak, for the priests to arrive, for the next ceremony to unfold. Even the silence here has a shape, soft, symmetrical, unbroken. You pass through a hall lined with painted walls. Scenes of gods and victories, of floods and harvests, stretch from floor to ceiling. The colors glow in the lamplight, deep reds, turquoise blues, gold that seems to shimmer with its own light. But you notice something else beneath the beauty. The faint cracks, the dust gathering in the corners. Even perfection. Here, ages quietly. In the central courtyard, the pharaoh sits upon a low throne of carved wood and ivory. He is not the towering figure the people imagine. He is small, wrapped in linen, eyes weary beneath the crown's weight. He listens as scribes read lists of offerings, as officials recite names of workers who died that month, as priests murmur blessings in careful tones. He nods, rarely speaking. He is a god to his people, yet to himself he is only a man who cannot stop time. Imagine standing near the edge of the court, watching. You see him lift a small golden cup to his lips. His hands tremble slightly. No one else notices. The air hums with the quiet movement of fans made from ostrich feathers, swaying slowly to keep the heat at bay. Every breath feels measured, deliberate, as if even the act of breathing is part of ceremony. Behind the palace walls, the gardens bloom. Ponds shimmer with lotus flowers and ducks glide across the water. Date palms sway gently, their fronds whispering against the stone. It's a world built to be eternal, a small imitation of paradise. But even here, under layers of luxury, you can feel the same heartbeat that thrums through the workers' camp, through Hapu's tired hands, through the river itself. A servant kneels beside the pharaoh's mother, an elderly woman seated beneath a canopy. She asks for cool water from the Nile, water drawn at dawn, before the sun had touched it. It's poured into a delicate cup of alabaster, and she drinks slowly, her eyes distant, as though remembering the days before the palace, before her son wore the crown. Even she, surrounded by gold and song, seems haunted by something simple, the memory of wind across open fields. Later, as the sun begins to set, musicians gather in the great hall. The harp, the flute, the rattle of small bronze cymbals. Each sounds soft, like the memory of laughter. The pharaoh listens, his eyes half closed. A servant fans him gently, and for a moment he looks peaceful. Not a ruler, not a god, but a man resting within his own creation. You watch as the last light of the sun spills through the high windows. It paints the stone in amber and gold, the same colors that touch the pyramid miles away. In that fading light, the palace and the workers' camp seem suddenly connected to halves of the same dream. One builds eternity with sweat, the other tries to hold it with ceremony. Neither truly can. As night deepens, the torches are lit. They flicker softly against the painted walls. The servants withdraw into the shadows. The harp fades into silence. The pharaoh retires to his chamber, a vast room perfumed with cedar, its ceiling painted like the night sky. He lies on linen sheets, staring upward at stars drawn in gold. Perhaps he wonders if those same stars shine above his laborers sleeping by the river. They do. And in that silent symmetry, Egypt endures. You step out once more into the open courtyard. The air is cool now, filled with the faint scent of lotus and stone dust. Far in the distance, the unfinished pyramid gleams faintly in the moonlight, its lines sharp, its purpose clear. You can almost see Hapu's shadow moving along the base, carrying another stone toward the future. You realize that every life here, the king, the servant, the worker, the river, moves in the same slow rhythm. The rhythm of building, of breathing, of being. The desert wind rises once more, whispering softly through the palms, carries the scent of water, the sound of silence. And as you stand there between palace and pyramid, you feel the same peace that Egypt has known for thousands of years, a stillness born of labor, faith, and time. Close your eyes. The harp's final note fades. The wind grows softer. And as you breathe out, the story folds itself back into the sand. The stars above drift into blur. The Nile sleeps. So do you.